How's it going, everybody? Wayne here. So I keep saying every time I get a lot that it gets harder and harder to find lots at this point in the collection. However, that hasn't been the case for me this time around. I keep finding lots, and I have a lot here today, and I have a couple more lots that I'll be doing future episodes on as well. In theory, it should be harder to find lots at this point in the collection, but I just keep getting lucky. I don't know what it is. These lots just keep popping up and they have most of the games that I still need in them. And that hasn't happened in the past when collecting video games. So today we have a lot of 12 games that we'll be adding to the collection, and only 4 of them are duplicates. And I also have another gray cartridge variant. This is Armyman Air Combat. It's normally a green cartridge. A long time ago in one of my episodes I added a sealed copy of Armyman Air Combat to the collection, and I added it onto the price counter, but I didn't add it as part of the game. So we'll be checking that game out as well. Let's have a look. And the first game we have in the lot is Wetrix. Wetrix was developed by Z2 and published by Ocean. It released for the N64 in 1998. Wetrix is a 3D puzzle game. The goal in Wetrix is to use falling pieces to form lakes and dams to prevent water from falling off the flat piece of land you start with. Sounds simple, but the game is fairly challenging. All kinds of things are falling and you must strategically place each one. Chunks of land fall, which is used to build the lakes. Waterfalls filling the lakes. Bombs also drop, tearing up the area which it lands. And there are reversed arrows that fall to flatten the land. Finally, there are also fireballs which dry up the lakes. If you build a big enough lake, a rainbow forms across it. If you don't make big enough or deep enough lakes, water will fall off the side, causing the water meter to fill up. Once it's full, it's game over. The game is challenging but fun. The graphics are decent as well. The controls are good, but it can be difficult to figure out what the next orientation of the piece will be when rotating it. Overall, Wetrix is a game worth checking out if you're a puzzle game fan. And Wetrix is game number 194 for the collection. Next up, a helicopter game, Chopper Attack. Chopper Attack is a third-person helicopter game developed by Seta Corporation and published by Midway Games. It released for the N64 in 1998. When starting off the game, you choose from one of 8 helicopters. Each helicopter has its own advantages and disadvantages, such as speed, armor, or amount of weapons it can carry. After you select your chopper, you'll get a mission brief. You'll want to pay attention to it so you can select the right type of weapon for the mission. When you enter the mission, you find the controls are pretty awkward, and they take some time getting used to. You can choose right or left-handed controls, where either the D-pad or C buttons move the chopper, and the analog stick controls the pitch. You can't move the chopper up or down. It automatically changes height based on terrain. The graphics are really blocky and the whole level is really foggy. You have to be right on top of an enemy to see it. The gameplay is okay. You'll take out radar towers, rescue hostages, and even protect the president's plane. You can find power-ups spread across the level by taking out buildings, revealing extra armor, health, or money to buy weapons. Chopper Attack is an okay game, but there are much better aircraft games on the N64. And Chopper Attack is game number 195 for the Complete in Box N64 library. Next up we have Ready to Rumble Boxing. Ready to Rumble was developed and published by Midway, releasing for the N64 in 1999. Ready to Rumble is a boxing game for the N64. You'll start off the game by choosing the character to play with and work your way to the top. Each character has their own personality and strength. While fighting in the ring, you'll use a combination of the analog stick and the C buttons to do a variety of high and low punches. During the fight, you can build up a rumble meter at the bottom of the screen to build up power. Once the meter is full, you can unleash a fury of fist upon your opponent. The controls are good overall, but I often found myself having to step back when activating the rumble mode. The graphics are good as well. The music and sound in the game are good, but if I heard the word rumble again, I was about to throw my controller into the television. There's also a championship mode where you can build up a boxer's stats. Ready to Rumble is a good boxing game for the N64. It's worth giving a shot if you like boxing games. Ready to Rumble is game number 196 for the collection, and we only got 100 more left after this. Next up we have South Park. South Park was developed by Iguana Entertainment and published by Acclaim, releasing for the N64 in 1998. South Park is a first-person shooter where you go around taking out enemies with snowballs and dodgeballs. This game had the same developer as the Turok games, and the controls are exactly the same. Use the C buttons to move and the analog stick to aim. It didn't take long to master the controls. Starting up the game, it looks great. The characters and art match the show. It even has a full intro. And the levels are like playing an episode. Surprisingly, the same content such as language and gore that were allowed in the show were in the game and not censored by Nintendo. The game consists of running around throwing snowballs at enemies. When you kill enough enemies, you unlock a door where there's swarms more of the same enemy. Then you fight the big bosses, making the swarms of enemies. Rinse and repeat. The later episodes are just different enemies. The game starts out really fun, but it gets monotonous quickly. The game would have been so much better if they offered more variety. However, the game is fun in spurts. And South Park is game number 197 for the N64 library. Next up we have a football game, Madden 2002. Madden 02 was developed and published by EA Sports and released for the N64 in 2001. The first thing I noticed when turning on the game was how much better it looked than previous Madden games we've covered. The graphics made a huge improvement, as well as the computer seeming much more intelligent. Even the replays improved to the point where it's not even like an older Madden game at all. Another really cool thing about Madden 2002 is it offers a classic mode which allows you to play a classic Madden game. This mode really allows you to see the improvements in the game over the years. If you want a Madden game for the N64, Madden 2002 is the one to get. Madden 2002 is game number 198 for the collection. Next up, a futuristic racing game, Aero Gauge. Aero Gauge was developed by Locomotive Games and published by ASC2 Entertainment, releasing for the N64 in 1998. Aero Gauge is a futuristic hover racing game for the N64. This is a bare bones racing game. You start off choosing a ship to race with. One of the ships in the game is an N64 controller. Spoiler alert, that is the only cool thing about the game. Before each race, you must qualify. Chances are you'll do really well in the qualifying. When you get to the racing, you'll need a turbo boost right off the start, or you'll never catch up to the other racers. There are no weapons or power-ups whatsoever. You hit A to go, and you use the control stick to control the ship. B brakes, C down changes the view. That's it. No weapons, no boost, just drive the ship. The game could have been really good. The controls do handle well around corners. Some of the track designs are cool, but the game just isn't fun. If you're looking for a game like this that is fun, try a copy of F-Zero or Wipeout. I don't recommend this game if you're looking for a fun racing game. And Aero Gauge is 199 for the N64 library. Next up we have another racing game, and this one can actually be pretty difficult to find complete in box, and that game is Roadsters. Roadsters was developed and published by Titus, releasing for the N64 in 1999. Roadsters is a racing game where you race high-end roadster cars. You'll start off the game choosing a car. You can't pick any car even though you have enough money because you have to pay the race entry fee. The cars look fantastic. The graphics are really good for an N64 game. After you buy your car, you can upgrade it. Again, you have to make sure you have enough money for the race entry fee. While racing, the levels look really great as well. There's a lot of nice scenery, and there's no fog in the game like many other N64 racers. The physics in the game are not realistic. It doesn't really matter if it's sunny and dry, or you're racing on a snowy track. The car handles pretty much the same. It's hard to tell if this is a simulation game or an arcade game because the car's handling isn't realistic, but there are no crazy jumps, boosts, or power-ups. Roadsters isn't the best racing game on the N64, but it's a good game that sits in the better half of the racing games. It's worth giving a shot if you like racing games. Roadsters is game number 200 for the collection. Next up we have a soccer game, FIFA 64. FIFA 64 was developed and published by EA Sports, releasing for the N64 in 1997. FIFA 64 is a soccer game, and like Mia Hamm, it'll make your blood boil. This game is slightly better than Mia Hamm, but that's like comparing a nasty fart to a trash dump. The graphics are terrible. When kicking the ball out to your team, you can hardly see who you're kicking it to. Even if you manage to kick it to your team, the computer is right there to take it away. It's very hard to get past the computer when bringing the ball down the field. But when they get the ball, it'll reach your goal in seconds. You also see the ball stop dead in its tracks sometimes. Where this game excels over me a hand is the sound. It's not dead silence. The AI is also much smarter in the game. I was hoping to review a good soccer game for the N64, but this isn't it. We still have a couple more soccer games to go, so hopefully one of them is decent. FIFA 64 is game number 201 for the collection. The last 4 games in the lot were duplicates, and they are Golden Nugget 64, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, Mike Piazza's Strike Zone, and Toy Story 2. This lot of 12 games only cost me $81 shipped, bringing our total up to $9,689 for the collection. And these 4 duplicates that I just showed you were actually boxes I already had on the shelf, because the 4 that came with the lot were all box upgrades. And the last game up, as you know, is Army Men Air Combat. Army Men Air Combat was developed and published by 3DO, releasing for the N64 in 2000. Air Combat is the final 3DO game I have to review for the N64. I'm a fan of every game they put out for the system. Air Combat is no exception. It has everything you'd expect from a 3DO game. Your chopper can select from a large variety of weapons. You have your standard gun, which changes directions automatically, locking onto enemies, missiles, homing missiles, and even paratroopers that drop from the sky and wreak havoc on the enemy. Your chopper is also equipped with a rope that lowers and picks things up. The controls are good. Navigating the chopper is much easier than in Chopper Attack. The sound is decent as well, but there's so much action, you don't really know what's firing at you at times. That's only a minor issue. The game is a blast. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of all the 3DO games on the system, and I'd recommend any of them if you're into combat games. Army Men Air Combat is game number 202 for the collection. And as I said, I already added the sealed copy onto the price counter, so I'm not going to be adding the gray cartridge variant. Let's get these games on the shelf. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe. I'll be completing the entire N64 library, complete in box, right here on this show. Also make sure to leave a thumbs up for 3DO. Until next time, I'm Wayne, and thanks for watching.